Perry. Just sent an email that said Mike Penny, 59 years old, former council member of the city of Perry, County of
You're not older than
No, you're older.
you graduated 19?
Oh, it's way working.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go ahead and call this regularly scheduled September 27th meeting into order. I'm going to start with an approval of the agenda, which I have no additions, amendments to. Do I have an approval of the agenda? I have a motion from Commissioner Farnsworth, a second from Commissioner Martin. Are there any questions or comments on the motion on the floor from the dais? Hearing none, are there any questions or comments on the motion on the floor from the public? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. I'd like to invite Pastor Armin Lowry from Mount Zura Full Gospel Baptist Church to the podium tonight to give the invocation. If you would, please rise for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor Lowry, thanks for joining us, sir.
Thank you, sir. And ask all heads to bow, please. Father God, as we come at this moment, at this hour of the day, we first say thank you because you've allowed us to see this day. And then, Lord God, concerning recent events in our city, our staff, and also, Lord God, the parents of our children safe. In addition to that, Lord, we've had a recent incident in our city, Lord God, that has impacted not only the school students, but parents and others in our city. And Lord God, you have blessed us in this part of the world to have a peaceful place to live, to grow, to be educated, to work, and also to conduct business. Now, Father, I pray for this community, and I ask, Lord, that you will have mercy upon us at first, and then, Lord God, let those who have a heart to do evil be brought to justice. And then, Lord God, I pray that we will continue to enjoy the tranquility and the peace of this community. And Father, I pray for the commissioners that sit here on this dais, that, Lord God, along with the mayor, city clerk, city manager, Lord, also our legal representatives, and all of the persons and citizens of this community, I pray, Lord God, that they will conduct business in accordance to your will. Father, we're in a nation and in a time, in our season, and in a world where there's a lot of confusion and division. But Lord, only you are a God of unity, because where there's unity, there is strength. So I pray for unity, I pray for one accord, and I pray that your will be done in this community, in this county, and in this world. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Pastor Lowry, for that timely prayer. Okay, that's going to take us to presentations. We have a couple of proclamations that I'm going to read into the record. We're going to start with White Cane Awareness Month. And I see that we have at least one member of the Lions Club here, so I'm going to ask Miss Peggy to join me at the podium when I finish reading this to accept this proclamation on the Lions Club behalf. And the proclamation so reads: "It is about focusing on the fight and not on the fright. Whereas during Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we honor the women and men who courageously fight to survive, detect, treat, prevent, and support survivors of this devastating disease. Whereas unfortunately many of us know someone or have family members who have or have had breast cancer." Sorry, am I reading the right one? White Cane Awareness. I've got the wrong proclamation in front of me. And I think someone's going to print it off, so I'm going to switch around real quick. We're going to do the national community. I thought it was going to flip back around for me. I thought there was a circle there. We're going to move to presentation of the National Community Planning Month proclamation first while we correct that error. So, whereas change is constant and affects all cities, towns, suburbs, counties, boroughs, townships, rural areas, and other places, and whereas community planning and plans can help manage this change in a way that provides better choices for how people work and live, and whereas community planning provides an opportunity for all residents to be meaningfully involved in making choices that determine the future of their community, and whereas the full benefits of planning requires public officials and citizens who understand, support, and demand excellence in planning and plan implementation. And whereas the month of October is designated as National Community Planning Month throughout the United States of America and its territories, and whereas American Planning Association endorses National Community Planning Month as an opportunity to highlight how planning is essential to recovery and how planners can lead communities to equitable, resilient, and long-lasting recovery. And whereas the celebration of National Community Planning Month gives us the opportunity to publicly recognize the participation and dedication of the members of planning commissions and other city planners who have contributed their time and expertise to the improvement of the city of Newberry. And whereas we recognize the many valuable contributions made by professional community and regional planners of the city of Newberry and extend our heartfelt thanks for the continued commitment to public service by these professionals. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the month of October 2021 is hereby designated as Community Planning Month in the city of Newberry in conjunction with the celebration of National Community Planning Month. Be it so proclaimed. Brian, are you here? Would you like to say a few words on behalf of national planners?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know about national planners, but I certainly know that your local planners are working as hard as ever, and we certainly appreciate the input from our Planning and Zoning Board, which is the local planning agency for the city of Newberry. It's great work, it's enjoyable work, and it's really fun being in a community that's got so much going on like Newberry. It's an honor to be here, and we appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, we appreciate it. Doesn't take long sitting up here to realize the value of having a good planner. Now, we'll go back to item 1 on presentation, which is White Cane Awareness Day, and we will proclaim this one. Optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without hope and confidence. Whereas on October 6, 1964, President Lyndon B. Johnson signed the first White Cane Safety Day proclamation, and whereas the white cane, which every blind resident of our community and state has the right to carry, demonstrates and symbolizes the ability to achieve a full and independent life and the capacity to work productively in competitive employment. And whereas it is an extension of its user and provides the assurance that the path is clear and safe, permitting greater mobility and independence. And whereas for those with sight, the white cane serves as a reminder of their responsibility to protect the safety of individuals who are blind or visually impaired. And whereas I urge civic and service organizations, schools, public bodies, and the media of public information to join in this observance with appropriate activities designed to promote continuing awareness of the significance of the white cane to blind persons. And now, therefore, I, Jordan Marlowe, Mayor of the City of Newberry, Florida, do hereby proclaim October 2021 as White Cane Awareness Month, and do call upon our schools, colleges, and universities to offer full opportunities for training to blind persons, upon employers and the public to utilize the available skills of competent blind persons, and to open new opportunities for the blind and our rapidly changing society, and upon all residents to recognize the white cane as a tool of independence for blind pedestrians on our streets. Signed this 27th day of September 2021 and attested to by the Clerk of City Commission of the City of Newberry, Florida, Ms. Judy S. Rice. Ms. Peggy, would you meet us down here real quick for one photo? You can take it back to the Lions Club and let us know how much we appreciate it. And we'll get it on a nice, pretty copy here.
Of course, our number one person.
Why don't you hold up the other one? They can't see it.
That's true. That's true.
The other?
Yeah, the nicer.
Oh, the pretty one.
The pretty one, yeah.
Okay.
And we'll make it right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The past few days in the city of Newberry, we've gotten really good at rolling with the punches. So we just keep right on going. That's going to take us to public announcements. Your commission likes to hear from its citizens, and so we set aside a time at the beginning of every meeting to hear from you. If you have an announcement you'd like to make, you got 2 minutes. You can talk about anything, whether it's on the agenda or not. If you're here to talk about something a little more controversial, there's a 5-minute opportunity at the end of the meeting for you to bring up anything that's not on the agenda. Of course, if it's on the agenda, you have public comment before any vote for a motion is carried. So with that, does anyone from the public like to get up and address the commission? Mr. Long, come on down and introduce yourself to us. I know you're a busy man trying to get around to how many counties? 3, 4, 5?
3 counties.
3 counties.
3 counties. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners. Good afternoon. I'm Rodney Long. I'm a candidate for the Florida Senate District 8, which represents...
Is there a green light on that microphone?
Yeah.
Okay,
It's
perfect.
on.
Just checking.
Which represents Alachua, Marion, and Putnam counties. As the mayor said, I'm on a 3-county tour, visiting all the cities, all the counties, all the school boards, all the county commissions, to introduce myself as well as to let them know my philosophy of governance when it comes to local government. Just a little bit about me. I had the opportunity to serve on the Gainesville City Commission for 6 years, 1 year as mayor, served on the county commission, served 2 terms as chair, was president of the Florida Association of Counties for 2 terms, and had an opportunity to serve at the National Association of Counties Board and also visited the White House on behalf of counties. So local government is where I come from. I want to make sure you understand that in Tallahassee, they believe that one size fits all. They believe in perimeter local government. They believe that one size fits all, which I don't believe. I believe that government that's closest to the people is the best government for people. I want you to know that when I'm elected as your next state senator, you will have a friend in Tallahassee in the state senate. I will oppose any and all unfunded mandates, any cost shifts, and any preemptions toward local government. Also, I want you to know that in Tallahassee, they believe that the people don't have a right to democracy. And what I mean by that is simply this. The people have a right to amend the Constitution under law. But our legislature, if they don't like whatever the people do, they change it. I don't think that's right. And a couple of incidents, whether it's fair housing, Amendment 4, whether it's Florida have funding, or affordable housing, which is the Sadowski Trust Fund. Speaking of the Sadowski Trust Fund, I want you to know that I will support full funding for the Sadowski Trust Fund and the SHIP program, because I understand as a realtor how important local dollars are for your SHIP programs. So I just want to let you know I stopped by. I want to take up too much of your time. I'll email you. I hope to hear from each one of you individually, because I want to know what you think. If I'm going to represent you, I got to know what you believe in and what you want here in local government. I believe that. I can't say that I represent a city or county and never met one of the county commissioners or city commissioners. I'm going to call you. I'm going to email you. I want you to have my cell phone number. I want you to call me. When something happens that's important to you, I want you to be able to contact me. Mayor Marlowe, I want to say earlier that you have a good mayor here. He's everywhere. He's fighting for issues here in Newberry, and I appreciate his leadership of this great city. I appreciate your support in dealing with the opioid crisis that we have in this county, your leadership with that as well. And I want you to know that I'll be supporting any and all issues when it comes to this city. So if you have some questions, I'll be more than happy to answer any of them, but you'll be hearing from me again in the very, very near future. Thank you very kindly.
Thank you, sir. And if for the folks watching at home, if they want to learn more about you, do you have a website,
Yes, sir, I
Facebook
sure do.
page?
Thank you very much. www.rodneylongsenatedistrict8.com. You can call me. Each one of you have a card on the dais, so you can call me directly. Feel free to call me. I want to talk to you. To me, it's not about party affiliation, because in Tallahassee, it doesn't matter what party you're in, they don't believe in local government. So feel free to call me. This is not about local party. It's about representation. Thank you very kindly, Mr. Mayor. Thank you all very much for your time.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Long before he leaves the podium?
Thank you
for coming out.
Thank you very much.
That tour is a whirlwind. I saw you in Hawthorne. I saw you at the legislative session this morning, and now you're here tonight, so you're putting in the hours. So we appreciate that kind of work ethic out here in Newberry. Do we have any other public comment? Hearing none, that's going to move us to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as it was published?
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Coleman, a second from Commissioner Clark. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. First item on the agenda tonight is public hearing of ordinances. This is our discussion and adoption with changes of any of the final operating millage rate for fiscal year 2021-22. Now, we've had a practice run through the first reading of this, so I'm going to stick to the script again. So for items 7 through 12, we're going to be in the adoption of our budget, okay? So 7 through 12 on the published agenda are all about our budget, and then item 13 will be done with the budgets, and item 13, we get to go into a series of quasi-judicials. So ladies and gentlemen, to make sure that we do everything by the book and hit all the regulations that Tallahassee puts on us, we have a script that we make sure we adhere to so that we address all of those points. And at this time, I'm going to begin with that script. And the City of Newberry Commission hereby convenes the public hearing on the City of Newberry's fiscal year 2020-21 final millage and final budget as required by Florida statute, chapters 129 and 200. Chapter 200 requires that a final hearing on the budget be preceded by a 2 to 5 day notice of that hearing. Chapter 129 requires that the Commission advertise a summary of the budget. Here are the proofs of the publication that such notices have been given. A summary of the city budget has been provided for public review by means of advertisement in the Alachua County Today on Thursday, September 23rd, 2001, pursuant to these requirements. If anyone in our audience is here for the purpose of contesting their tax assessment, a petition for adjustment with the Value Adjustment Board should have been filed no later than 5 p.m. Friday, September the 10th, 2001. The petition forms were available in the property appraiser's office. This evening, we're going to take a number of actions related to the final adoption of millage and budgets, and I encourage you, if you have not already done so, to get a copy of the agenda so that you may more easily follow the proceedings this evening. Citizen comments will be taken following the overview of the proposed budget by the city manager and assistant city manager / CFO. City attorney will now present an overview of the truth in millage legislation, followed by the city manager and assistant city manager CFO's explanations of the final and rolled back millage rates. Mr. Attorney.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. In 1980, the Florida legislature adopted what is known as the Truth in Millage legislation, or TRIM as it's called. The goal of the legislation was to ensure that taxpayers were advised of public hearings at which the local taxing authorities' budgets and millage rates are considered and adopted. Each year, the property appraiser completes an assessment of the value of all property and then certifies to each taxing authority the taxable value of the property within its jurisdiction. Each taxing authority then notifies the property appraiser of its proposed millage rate, its rollback rate, and the date, time, and place of the public hearing to consider the proposed millage rate and proposed budget. Once the property appraiser receives that information, he or she then sends the notice by first-class mail to every taxpayer on the assessment roll. The notice contains the information from the taxing authorities as to the proposed millage rate and the time and place of the public hearing. The notice is then sent to the taxpayers, and it is called the TRIM notice. The TRIM notice lists what the taxes were for the prior year, what the taxes will be if the proposed budget changes are made, and what the taxes will be if no budget changes are made. This information is listed for each taxing authority. The notice also lists all voted levies for debt service. The purpose of the TRIM notice is to provide taxpayers with sufficient basic information to enable them to participate in the public hearing process.
Mr. Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This fiscal year 2022 budget has been prepared amid the COVID-19 pandemic and is the second budget that we have prepared during this ongoing predicament. We are still very much involved in the response to this emergency. We're working hard to continue providing services to our citizens while at the same time keeping our community and staff safe. We're not letting our guard down as this virus has proven to be persistent and resilient. Nevertheless, life under this new normal goes on, and so does our budgeting. The presentation of the budget for the Commission's consideration is one of the most important duties as your manager. Trying to give myself a promotion here. Sorry about that, Mr. Mayor. As mandated by Florida law and the city's charter, I am happy to present you with a balanced budget. During this year's budget process, the Commission held 6 budget workshops to publicly discuss the budget for fiscal year 2022. The budget was prepared with a focus on the city's future, what we want our community to look like, and how we will get there. This year, we began a strategic visioning process to align our residents and our Commission's long-term goals. The Commission clearly heard our community's desire for a focus on long-term infrastructure by funding expansion and extension of 2 downtown roads to alleviate traffic and provide connectivity, to invest in our water and wastewater infrastructure, and for the expansion of City Hall to provide our residents with a single place to conduct their business with the city. The Commission has also shown its commitment to public safety by funding a new quint in the fire department, which will allow our firefighters to continue to provide the highest in class service to our residents when they need it the most. In addition to these investments in our future, this Commission has prioritized the hard work of our staff who make all these projects happen and who are constantly setting a bar high for local government. The Commission has once again shown that they trust and believe in our staff by providing merit raises, lowering the cost of dependent care, and implementing a tuition reimbursement program. On top of all that, the Commission has barked down a road to implement impact fees. This tool will provide future Commission for decades to come the tools needed to continue to properly plan for the city's growth and our very bright future. The budget is funded with a tentative millage rate of 5.9999 mills. This marks the 5th year in a row that the Commission has not raised the property tax rate. With the vision of the Commission and our community at the forefront, your staff has spent an enormous amount of time weighing the available funding and the many competing needs for providing services to our community. I want to thank our department heads and staff and the other charter officers for being cognizant of the unique challenges we face and for presenting budgets that reflect the goals of providing the highest levels of service and investing in our future. In particular, I wish to thank Dallas Lee, Newberry's Assistant City Manager and Chief Financial Officer, for his efforts and his team for their efforts in preparing this budget, which is the most comprehensive budget ever considered by a city commission in Newberry. For Dallas Lee will now lead us through a discussion of the millage and the budget.
Mr. Assistant Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. One of the requirements of the truth in millage legislation is to provide information about why the final millage rates are higher or lower than the rolled back millage rates. The final millage rate for the city of Newberry is 5.9999 mils, which is 7.24% more than the rolled back millage rate of 5.5945 mils. The rolled back millage rate is defined as the millage rate which, exclusive of new construction, additions to structure, deletions, and property added to geographic boundary changes, will provide the same ad valorem tax revenue to each taxing authority as was levied during the prior year. The City of Newberry's proposed final millage rate is the rate at which the City Commission has, through due study and consideration, has determined is needed to fund the municipal operations for the City of Newberry in the best interest, public health, and welfare of its citizens. The final millage rate is the same rate as was levied in the prior 4 years. However, the trim process requires that a notice of tax increase be advertised when the current year proposed aggregate millage rate exceeds the calculated aggregate rolled back millage rate. The aggregate rolled back millage rate is calculated by dividing the prior year estimated property tax revenues by the current year taxable property value divided by 1,000. The current year taxable value does not include new construction and annexed values. For the 2021 tax year, the proposed final millage rate of 5.9999 mils is 7.24% greater than the rolled back millage rate of 5.5945 mils, resulting in advertising a notice of tax increase. The primary driver behind the lowered rollback rate is the addition of new homes and businesses onto the city's tax rolls. Mr. Mayor, the 2021-2022 proposed final budget summary for all funds of the City of Newberry summarizes all revenue and other financing sources available to the city in the amount of $20,027,599 and reserves brought forward in the amount of $12,787,884 for total revenue and other financing sources available to the city in the amount of $32,815,483. Take a breath. and an appropriations in the amount of $21,026,975, with reserves appropriated in the amount of $11,788,508, for a total appropriations of $32,815,483, which is a net increase from the amended fiscal year 2021 budget in the amount of $25,835,791. A large portion of this increase is attributed to $3.1 million in American Rescue Plan funding the city will receive. The proposed general fund budget is $10,825,532. There are no changes from the tentatively adopted budget. The proposed capital improvement fund budget is $388,800. There are no changes from the tentatively adopted budget. The proposed special revenue funds budgets total $4,196,318. There are no changes from the tentatively adopted budget. The proposed enterprise funds budgets total $16,219,765. There are no changes from the tentatively adopted budget. The proposed internal service funds budgets total $1,185,068. There are no changes from the tentatively adopted budgets. Mr. Mayor, that concludes my comments of the proposed final budgets, which were tentatively adopted by the City Commission on September 13th and have been presented to you again this evening. I'd be happy to answer any questions about the budget at this time.
Does the Commission have any questions? Okay. I'd now like to invite citizens to comment on the fiscal year 2021-22 proposed millage rates and proposed budgets. Please come forward to the podium if you wish to address the Commission. We do request that each speaker try to limit his or her comments to 3 minutes. The hearing will continue until everyone who wishes to address the Commission has had an opportunity to speak. And this would be Resolution 2021-40. This is about the millage rates. If you want to talk to the Commission about the millage rates. Okay, seeing no questions, we will come back to the dais, and I will accept a motion to accept or reject Resolution 2021-40. I have a motion from Commissioner Martin, second from Commissioner Clark.
There's a.
Did I miss a section?
We skipped one section.
Did I miss one page?
Yeah. I'm on the top of page 9.
Top of page 9.
Mr. Mayor, you skipped the most exciting part of the whole evening. Which cut me out.
I'm sorry. I forgot. Mr. Yes, okay. Assistant City Manager, go ahead. There we go. So
Mr.
that's why we
Mayor,
have a
Florida
script.
statutes require that the name of the taxing authority, the millage rate to be levied, the rolled back rate, and the percentage increase over rolled back rate be publicly announced. Accordingly, the City of Newberry City Commission has determined that a proposed millage rate of 5.9999 mils is necessary to fund the final general municipal budget. This is the same property tax as was levied in the prior year. The proposed millage rate represents an increase of 7.24% from the rolled back millage rate of 5.5945 mils.
And Mr. Mayor, the presentation this evening is the passage of Resolution 2021-40. As you stated just a moment ago, you have the option to approve the resolution or deny the resolution, which I'll read by title only. A resolution determining and adopting the final rate of taxation on real and personal property and making the annual levying of ad valorem taxes for the City of Newberry, Florida for the fiscal year 2021, 2022, and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass Resolution 2021-40 as read by title only.
Okay, and I would remind the Commission that Florida statutes require that the name of the taxing authority, the millage rate be levied, the rollback rate and percentage increase over rollback rate be publicly announced. Accordingly, the City of Newberry City Commission has determined that a proposed millage rate of 5.99999 mils is necessary to fund the final general municipal budget. Same property tax that was levied in the prior year. The proposed millage rates increase represents an increase of 7.24% from the rollback rate of 5.5945 mils. We just read the resolution. Okay, and the appropriate motion is to approve Resolution 2021-40. I had a motion from Commissioner Martin.
Still stands.
Do I have a second from Commissioner Clark? Okay, any comments, questions on the dais from the motion on the floor? Okay.
You guys.
Do we have any public comments or question on the motion on the floor for the millage rate? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously.
And Mr. Mayor, next we have resolution number 2021-41, a resolution of the City of Newberry, Florida relating to the city's budget for the 2021-2022 fiscal year. providing for the final appropriation of funds of the City of Newberry for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2021 and ending September 30, 2022. Approving a final general city budget, adopting a 5-year capital improvement program for the city, providing authority for city management, prescribing the terms and conditions with provisions, and with respect to supplemental appropriations and reappropriations, making a determination of the public purpose and providing severability and effective date. Appropriate motion is passed. Resolution 2021-41 as read by title only.
Okay, I have a motion from Commissioner Coleman.
Second?
Second from Commissioner Martin. Any comments or questions on the motion on the floor? From the dais? Hear none. Any public comments or questions on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Assistant City Manager?
Mr. Mayor and City Commissioners, the next 3 items relate to your utilities. The City of Newberry establishes utility rates to generate revenue sufficient to meet its operating expenses. Staff evaluates utility rates annually during the budget process, and if warranted, recommends rates be adjusted. Staff utilizes models for developing its utility rates to forecast customers, electric and water consumption, wastewater generation, and the anticipated expenses to determine whether rates will produce revenues which are sufficient to meet the expenses associated with providing utility services to our residents. Many of the city's costs to provide these services are fixed or have increased. As the City Commission's utility budget workshop, staff presented these proposed rate changes, and the Commission gave consensus to include these rate changes in the proposed final budget. Residential electric rates are proposed to be adjusted by 2% for an average residential impact of $2 per month. Non-residential rates are proposed to be adjusted in a similar fashion. A reduction in the city's bulk power cost, or PCA, will result in an average cost reduction of approximately $1.50 per month for our residential customers. The net impact between the rate increase and the PCA decrease is 50 cents a month to residential customers. Customers were properly notified in their August bills, and the city will need to file additional reports with the Public Service Commissions to inform them of the proposed rate changes.
Mr. Attorney?
Yes, sir. This is an ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida, pertaining to electric utility services within the City of Newberry to amend and revise Section 98-63, subsections 1, 2, 3, and 8 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Newberry pertaining to the energy charged, providing for codification of same, repealing all ordinances in conflict, and providing an effective date. Appropriate motion is to adopt ordinance number 2021-46 upon its second reading as read by title only.
Okay. Do I hear that motion?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion from Commissioner Clark.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Farnsworth. Any comments or questions on the motion on the floor? This is about the electric rate. Seeing none from the dais. Any public comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. And Mr. CFO.
Mr. Mayor, water rates are proposed to be adjusted by 4% in the consumption charge and in the residential customer charge for an average residential impact of 95 cents per month. This rate increase keeps the city's rates as the lowest residential rates in the area. This rate increase also works towards the Commission's goal of maintaining and operating self-sustaining utility enterprises. Customers were properly notified in their August bills of the proposed rate changes.
And Mr. Mayor, now before you is ordinance 2021-47, an ordinance pertaining to water service within the City of Newberry, amending the prior established rates and amending sections 98-154 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Newberry, amending ordinance number 2020-25, repealing all ordinances in conflict and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to adopt ordinance 2021-47 upon its second reading as read by title only.
Okay, do I hear that motion? I have a motion from Commissioner Coleman.
Second.
Who said it? Commissioner Clark? Commissioner Clark. Second by Commissioner Clark. Do you have any comments or questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Do you have any comments or questions from the public? This one is about the water.
I want to do wastewater.
Wastewater, that's right. I'll get it right. All right. No other public comments? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. Mr. Attorney.
If you'd like, we'll go directly to the ordinance related to wastewater service, which is
2021-48.
an ordinance pertaining to wastewater service within the city of Newberry, amending the prior established rates and section 98-155 of the Code of Ordinances of the city of Newberry, amending ordinance number 2019-24, and repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing an effective date. Appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2021-48 upon the second reading by title only.
Mr. CFO?
Mr. Mayor, water rates are proposed to be adjusted by 3% in the consumption charge and $1 a month in the residential customer charge for an average residential impact of $2.08 per month. This increase keeps the city's rates as the lowest residential rates in our area, and these rates increase works towards our commission's goal of operating self-sustaining utility enterprises. The primary driver behind this rate increase is additional permit compliance requirements placed on the city by the Florida Department of Environmental Protection. Customers were properly notified in their August bills.
Okay, thank you, sir. Do I hear a motion to approve ordinance on second reading 2021-48?
Move to approve.
I have a motion from Commissioner Clark.
Excuse me.
I have to have a motion before we can open put public comment. I haven't forgot you. I have a motion from Commissioner Clark. Do I hear a second? Second from, I'm going to go Commissioner Mazon here. He's been quiet tonight, so we're going to pull him in. Right? We're going to wake him up. He has to open up that energy drink there. Okay, I have a motion probably second on the floor. Any questions, comments on the motion floor from the dais? Public comment. Come on down, ma'am.
Good evening again. My name's Mary Gaffney, and I live in Countryway Town Square, and I'm fine with the millage rate and everything else. My concern is the increase in the wastewater charges. I spent a great deal of time with the city manager. He was very nice. We spoke for quite some time after the last commission meeting, and he explained to me about the new EPA or whatever it is that you guys have to do to the water treatment plant and all that. I have since had my water meter changed out, which the city graciously did, because I still think there was a problem with my meter, because we should not be using that much water. But again, my concern is that the wastewater that goes into our lawns that we wash our cars with, I just don't believe that, and I've looked at the city of Gainesville, they only 93% of that is charged. They do give some credit knowing that you're going to wash your cars, you're going to water your lawn. And I just don't think it's right that we should pay for wastewater that's going into the ground. And I really would like the commission to reconsider raising those rates. You're already raising our water rates, you're raising the millage, the electric rates. It's just a lot. And this is a community that we moved to because we didn't want to pay all these high fees living in GRU. And in compromise to that, I don't feel I have as good a water system as I did when I was on GRU. I didn't have to worry about all these special filters on my brand new home. I didn't have to worry about changing out, faucets and stuff because they get so, full of the calcium and stuff, because GRU has the money to treat the plant differently than we do here. And so, I've had all those additional expenses to a brand new home that I did not expect to have. I wasn't told about that, what I call crappy water, but I just feel it's something that you guys got to give somewhere. And I would ask you to reconsider raising the rates on the wastewater. You're also adding that additional tax or whatever you want to call it by $1. Enough is enough. And you have to, everybody washes their cars. Everybody, theoretically, waters their lawn. I mean, I have a very nice yard, and I pay a lot of money to keep it that way. But it's not going into the system and is not being treated. And I should have some kind of compensation for that. And so I just ask you to reconsider before you raise the rates, that perhaps you go back and you revisit this and give some kind of percentage, knowing that part of that water is not going to be going into the system, is not going to have to be treated. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. And I appreciate you coming again tonight and expressing those thoughts. I've thought a lot about your comments before, and I've tried to always put myself in the shoes of a resident who's talking to us. And I mean, I felt a little uneasy last time after you left, because I imagine that it felt like it was a waste of your time to come up here and talk to us, and why bother? But I'm glad to see you back here again. And I think that, it's really difficult. This commission has had an intense budget season that started last spring, and we've had a whole lot of meetings, and we have a lot of challenges facing us. And so this commission has decided to try to face those challenges by taking a little here and a little here and a little here instead of big gashes. And most of those challenges, as Mr. Long said when he addressed us, are coming to us from Tallahassee. Our wastewater requirements are going to increase by 500% because of what's coming out of Tallahassee. 500%. It's an astronomically large number. So I hear what you're saying, and I sympathize with the feeling that, why can't we just make a shift right now? But this is an incredibly complex budget that we've spent hours and hours and hours of public meetings and hundreds of hours outside of the public putting together, and changing one piece of it has repercussions throughout the entire budget. So we're trying to address everyone's needs, and I want you to hear that we are hearing you, and I still think that about 80% of your taste problems come from that instant hot water heater that you have, because those are, I can tell you, that's causing the corrosion. If you have a regular hot water heater, Florida, Newberry's won best tasting water in Florida for 5 years in a row. I don't have any of those issues that you're talking about. So I think that there may be some other things to address, but I just want you to know that those words aren't falling on deaf ears. It's just by the time we get to this point, we have very, very precisely put together how we're going to move forward, and changing it. It's like a Jenga puzzle. Pulling any one of those bricks out means that we got to go back and we got to address, something else has to go up, something else has to change. And so I just wanted to take a moment to pause. I think we get into the script that I would give Scott and I about a B+ right now of adhering to. But I feel like sometimes we feel like we're so tied up in the script that we can't take a moment to address a resident. I just wanted you to know that we are hearing you. We're at the end of the race at this point, and it's difficult to make those kinds of changes. All that being said, this commission, we have a motion probably seconded on the floor. Any comments? Commissioner Farnsworth?
I totally understand where she's coming from, and I think maybe in the next year we need to maybe address that and see what can be done. I never liked the idea of how much water you use will affect your wastewater amount of fees. So I think that's something that we do need to look at and see if we can make it more consumer friendly.
I agree, and we do offer the irrigation meter, so that you can put an irrigation meter on, and then those kinds of things stay completely separate. So I mean, there are solutions out there. The instant hot water heater clearly has some issues. You got to clean that out with vinegar on a monthly basis to keep the corrosion down. And if you do like a really nice yard, you're going to irrigate a lot, I would look at that irrigation meter and see about that way it stays completely separate. So any other thoughts, comments? Hearing none. I'm sorry, we only got 3 minutes. Well, I got to be fair to everybody though, so we got to.
I got a comment.
You comment.
I feel your pain too. I don't like going up, but I will have to give it for staff, because our wastewater, looking, if you said you came from Gainesville, I think. Gainesville, I mean, just looking at the graph right there, we're well below them. We're doing all we can to, instead of hitting you all at once like GRU does, is to hit you a little bit at a time. I know that doesn't sound good, but it's a lot better than getting hit all of a sudden. And I do encourage you next year during these when we have our workshops to come in, and then you get to actually see where we're coming from on why we're either having to increase or decrease. And like I said, I really wish you would get involved in that when next year when this happens again.
And I would say, it's always tough when you're talking about something like consumption. It's so hard. Everybody feels like there's no way I could have used as much But, you know, the meter technology that you use on your water meter is the same meter technology that you use at the gas pump. And, you know, sometimes it feels like I'm at the gas pump for 20 minutes filling up 10 gallons, and sometimes it feels like it was 10 minutes. But whatever that meter says, that's how much gas I use. And those meters, you know, it's a pretty standard technology. You know, I've audited on residents' behalf, I don't know how many. It's been easily into the 20s. And these are extensive audits. We've never once found, usually when the meter is going bad, it's going bad in the resident's favor. It's letting more water through than it's catching. And so most of the time they're a little upset they went through the audit because we feel, yeah, that meter is bad. It's been letting a few hundred gallons go through without catching it. Okay. Any other questions or comments? All in favor of the motion on the floor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously, and that takes us to Assistant City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, during the budgeting process, the City Commission directed city staff to develop a funding plan to generate sufficient revenue to fund long-term capital improvement projects. Staff brought back the funding plan at the City Commission's budget workshop on September 7th, and the City Commission provided feedback to include the proposed changes in the FY 2022 budget. Florida statutes allows that municipalities may levy by ordinance a public service tax on the purchase of electricity, metered natural gas, liquefied petroleum gas either metered or bottled, manufactured gas either metered or bottled, and water service. The tax is levied only upon purchases within the municipality and cannot exceed 10% of the payments received by the seller of the taxable item. The tax proceeds are considered general revenue for the municipality. Currently, the City of Newberry levies a public service tax of 10% on fuel, oil, electricity, and kerosene, but not on water service. The establishment of the water public service tax was another option for increased revenue to fund the construction of the downtown roads and other infrastructure needs as approved by the City Commission. The City of Newberry is one of only 2 cities in our area that does not currently impose a water service tax. Staff proposes a tax rate of 6% on the sale of water service, including irrigation, within the city. The average impact to a customer is approximately $1.48 per month. The revenue generated will be transferred to the city's capital improvement fund for investment into the city's infrastructure. Additional clarifying language has been made throughout the existing public service tax ordinance to address outdated processes and changes in state law. Mr. Mayor, that concludes my comments.
Okay, Mr. Attorney.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is an ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida, amending Chapter 86, Article 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Newberry regarding taxation of utilities, amending Section 86-31, definitions, adding water service as a utility service, updating Section 86-34, related to records, monthly statements and payments to the city, updating Section 86-35 regarding computation on the basis of aggregate monthly sales, forms, and administrative rules and regulations, and adding Section 86-38 regarding penalties for non-payment or not filing return. Repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is passed. Ordinance number 2021-49 upon its second reading by title only.
Okay, do I hear that motion?
Move to approve.
I got a motion from Commissioner Clark. Did I get a second?
I second it.
I got a second from Commissioner Maison. Comments, questions from the dais on the motion on the floor? I think this is a good resolution to remind ourselves that this budget, there's not a commissioner up here who agrees with every single thing in this budget. This budget represents a compromise among all 5 of you as a way to achieve the goals that all 5 of you have agreed to set. So, you know, we say that this is what we need to do in the city. This is the best way that we have to get there. But I could go down the line and each one of you would say things that, man, I'm having a hard time with that one. I'm having a hard time with, but we want to move the city forward. We know that we have to figure out a way to make that happen. And this budget, I think, as all good budgets do, represent a compromise position between the 5 of you, and you've done that well. And I applaud the fact that you have focused so hard on this resolution. Specifically, this resolution has probably gone through the gauntlet more than any resolution has, in terms of ensuring that the money that is levied here is going to be spent to improve the lives of the people who are paying it, not anywhere else in the city that wouldn't receive those improvements. So I think you guys have done a great job at doing that, at being very responsible about making sure that the people who are paying the taxes are receiving the benefit. And I know that none of us like doing these things, but I applaud you guys having the courage to step forward and say, if we want these goals, this is how we're going to get there. Commissioner Coleman?
You go back 2 slides. Is that, Alex wastewater? Okay. That one. So that's putting us below, or it puts us, every city in Alachua County.
And surrounding.
Waldo.
Right.
Waldo's got 10, or.
Waldo has 10. I'm good with this. I'm still good with it. Well, the main one I look at is Gainesville every time.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, most cities are collecting 10%. This is tiny steps so that we're not taking big chunks. I've been on dioceses that kicked every can down the curb in the name of being conservative, and then 10 years later, 15 years later, you end up with huge bills, right? And we could go around the county and we could point out other governing bodies that are faced with that issue. They haven't done the necessary small steps every year. So now they're having to look at, how do we raise $400 million to address roads in Alachua? How do we raise, I don't know how many hundreds of millions of dollars to address schools in Alachua County? So, just not the swamp. Just not the swamp. I bet you FSU would pay $1 billion for that right now, though. Right. Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Clark. I have a second from Commissioner Mazon. Any other comments or questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Public comments or questions on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, roll call vote. Commissioner Coleman?
Aye.
Commissioner Clark?
Aye.
Commissioner Farnsworth?
No.
Commissioner Martin?
No.
Commissioner Mazon?
Aye.
Motion passes 3-2 with Commissioner Farnsworth and Commissioner Martin in dissent. Commissioner Farnsworth changed his mind between the first and the second reading, as is his right. Okay, that takes us out of the budget season. That concludes the final public hearing of the City of Newberry's fiscal year 2022 budget and millage rates. I'm going to ask the Assistant City Manager, do you have any closing comments or acknowledgments, if any?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. As the City Commission knows, we start the budget process in January of every year, and it takes us 9 months to get to this point. And so I want to thank all the department heads and city staff, and my own team who work so hard on the budget. There's a lot of moving parts and moving targets, and a lot of information that has to be compiled. And I also want to thank the charter officers, and especially the City Commission. As the mayor and the manager mentioned, this was a very big budget. It was a very intense budget this year. It's a very big picture budget, and the City Commission gave us clear direction to bring you a budget forward, and I really appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Manager, do you have any closing comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I mean, I could exactly echo Dallas's sentiments with regards to the level of effort put in by our staff, by the other charter officers, and particularly by the City Commission. When you do 6 workshops to dig down into all of the intricate areas for funding and which projects we're going to do and how are we going to fund them, that speaks volumes. There's not a lot of commissions in Florida, small or large, that are putting forth that level of effort. So very complex process, and clearly the most comprehensive budget that the City of Newberry has ever considered and passed. So thank you all. I just can't underscore the level of effort put in by Dallas and his team, and hats off to them. A huge thank you to them. It's a big workload for everybody, but budget is a never-ending process for our finance team, and they handle it beautifully. They do a great job with it, and I really, really appreciate Dallas and his team. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Absolutely, Mr. Manager. And I want to first, obviously, say thank you to staff. It was an intense, I think we've used that word quite a few times. I think we got better, Scott, you and I, at the script at the very end there. I gave us an A- by the end. Yeah, we pulled it together. But I actually wanted to thank the commission this time around, because I have sat here for 4 years listening to election officials talk about some of these projects and never have the willpower to move forward with any of them. And it's impressive to see you guys coalesce and say, okay, we've talked enough about it. Now it's actually time to do them. And I think that the one thing that distinguishes the city of Newberry from some of the other governing bodies that I visit is the will to act. I see a lot of governing bodies talk for years and years and never actually do. And I'm proud to work with a bunch that says, we've talked about this enough, this is what we want to do, now how do we actually make it happen? So my hat's off to you guys for the vision that you are giving to our staff and our staff's ability to take that vision and put it out in the paper and make it come into a reality. So great job, Dallas. One more budget under your hat. Good job. Now, that's going to take us, Commissioner Mason, will you open up what is normally my drawer and hand me that quasi-judicial, right there, the laminated sheet of paper. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Now, we have a new operating procedure. Don't get into my candy now. I just needed the quasi-judicial procedure. We have a lot of quasi-judicials in front of us. When this board enters into quasi-judicial, we stop acting as a legislative body and we start acting as a judicial body. So we have to adhere to a certain amount of rules. Now I'm going to read that procedure and rules into the record for us. As long as nobody new enters the chamber, I'm not going to read that all over again. We're just going to move from one quasi-judicial to the next. And staff is going to help make sure that I notice if someone walks in while I'm looking down. So, in a minute, I'm going to read it into the record. The ordinance, resolution by title and number, the applicant's name, file number, and subject matter be decided if there's no ordinance or resolution. Then the city attorney, all right, I'm going to do it, explain the rules concerning testimony. That's primarily that substantial and competent evidence must be met when the board makes a decision. And it shall say the following: all public testimony will be taken under oath. Everyone testifying will be subject to cross-examination. All documents and exhibits shall be entered into evidence. The giving of opinion testimony is limited to experts, and closing arguments will be limited to the evidence of record. In a second, I'm going to explain the order of presentations, but first I'm going to ask Ms. Judy if you would swear in. If you're here to speak on to any quasi-judicial that's on the agenda tonight, if you would stand and be sworn in at this time, that'll just save us a little bit of time later on. So if you're here to speak to quasi-judicial resolution 2021-43 or in item 14, any of those annexation ordinances, please stand now to be sworn. Ms. Judy.
Please raise your right hand and state your name for the record. Do you hereby swear affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Okay, now I'm going to ask the commission if you have any ex parte to disclose on any of the quasi-judicials. Let's go ahead and disclose that now, and we'll get Scott's advice. Commissioner Coleman, do you have anything to disclose?
None.
Commissioner Clark?
None.
Commissioner Farnsworth?
None.
Commissioner Martin?
Only to the extent that I've had conversations with Keith Lerner, about how to apply for annexation, but it has no bearing on my approval or disapproval of the annexation.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Martin?
No game.
Commissioner Mazon?
No.
I'm a non-voting mayor, but I have nothing to disclose as well. Now tonight we're going to follow this presentation order. First we're going to hear from staff with an overview, then we're going to hear from the applicant if they're present, and there'll be no time limit. Then we're going to hear the staff report and recommendation, again with no time limit. I've not been contacted by anybody wishing to claim a third-party intervener status. That's going to move us to public comment. Any members of the public wishing to speak to each resolution or ordinance as we go through will be given 3 minutes to do so. Then the applicant can cross-examine, the staff can cross-examine, finally members of the decision-making body through the chair can ask questions of the applicant or staff. We will hear final arguments from the applicant and staff. The city attorney will advise the decision-making body one time as to the applicable law and the factual findings that must be made to approve or deny the application. Then we'll deliberate the application, and after deliberations, a vote shall be taken to approve, conditions, continue, or deny. Staff, go ahead and give us the overview of resolution. No, I'm sorry. First, Mr. Attorney, please read resolution 2021-43/SD21-07 into the record for us, if you would, sir.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. This is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Newberry, Florida, approving with appropriate conditions and safeguards the final plat for Countryway of Newberry Phase 4 as authorized under Section 5.18 of the City of Newberry Land Development Regulations as a planned development, PD, zoning district on certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida, repealing all resolutions in conflict and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is pass the resolution as read by title only.
Thank you, Scott. Brian, go ahead and give us an overview. If the applicant's not present, you can slide right into the presentation recommendation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll do just that. I don't believe the applicant is present, although he was made aware that the item would be on the agenda tonight. This is basically a request for final plat approval for Countryway of Newberry Phase 4. It entails 64 lots. As the name implies, it's the fourth phase in Countryway of Newberry. The planned development, it was reviewed by the city surveyor, both initially and then on a follow-up round of review after the revisions had been made. And they have presented the infrastructure for Phase 4 will not be completed prior to the for this request to approve the final plat, and so they have presented a surety agreement to cover the cost of the remaining infrastructure that still needs to be approved. And therefore, the having the final plat with a surety agreement in place, which has been approved by the city attorney, allows them to move forward with construction of the homes in Phase 4 prior to the completion and acceptance of the infrastructure by the city. Just a quick look, the boundary survey, kind of an odd shape, but anyway, there's Phase 4. You can see the 64 platted lots. And with that, Mr. Mayor, staff's recommendation is to approve Resolution 2021-43, final plat for Countryway of Newberry Phase 4. I will point out it's a little bit different procedure we're following tonight. In the past, we had talked about approving final plat by resolution, and this is the first time we're actually going to start doing that. Basically, it's going to help moving forward in tracking of all of those approved resolutions and approvals of the final plats.
Thank you, Brian. Do we have anybody from the public who wishes to comment on this Resolution 2021? Hearing none. Applicant's not present. Members of the decision-making body, do you have any questions for staff? No?
I thought we were going to go, one of these roads was going to go out. Right?
Is there another?
No, there are two more phases, Phase 5 and Phase 6. And
That's when they were going to get to take the road over.
We're talking with the applicant about that, providing connectivity to the south.
If you care about connectivity, though, you should at least make, I think you already have made a public comment that that's what you expect to see in those other phases.
I thought we had talked about it.
I think the conversation was about the next phases, but eventually we'll be able to have connectivity.
Connectivity, correct. I got you.
Commissioner Coleman?
Are you talking connectivity to 27 or to 30th?
We talked about going down, somehow getting over to 26 or 30th, but.
Right, I think it's 30th.
I mean 27, 41.
Yeah, I think it's both.
Both.
Actually. Brian?
Mr. Mayor, the connectivity I believe that we're addressing on the southern end would be connectivity to potential development to the south of this particular property. There's already 2 points of potential connectivity on the north side that would connect to the property to the north. There's a parcel in between the development and 30th, and so if that parcel develops further, then there's already automatic connectivity to that.
Okay.
Any other questions from the commission? Commissioner Farnsworth?
Okay, my eyesight's not so good, so is there sidewalks in this area?
Mr. Mayor, there are, sidewalks aren't actually depicted on the plat, but they are part of the approved construction plans for the phase.
Okay.
It'll be nice like the rest of this stuff.
Any other questions from the dais? Okay. And would you like to make a final argument, Brian?
No, sir.
All right. Mr. Attorney, would you please advise decision-making bodies of applicable law?
Substantial and competent evidence, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. We'll now enter into deliberations. If there are no deliberations, I'll entertain a motion to approve of conditions, continue or deny the application.
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Coleman, a second from Commissioner Martin. Are there any comments or questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Does the public have any comments or questions on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. We're still in quasi-judicial. The next agenda item actually has 7 quasi-judicials, or 7 ordinances in it. We're going to be staying quasi-judicial through the whole thing. We've already sworn, and we have already done ex parte. So, Mr. Attorney, I'm going to ask you to read ordinance 2021-38.
Yes, sir,
into the
Mr.
record.
Mayor. I'm happy
Second
to do
reading.
so. This is ordinance number 2021-38, an ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida, annexing certain portions of unincorporated Alachua County that includes tax parcel numbers 01928-004-000 as more specifically described in this ordinance, as petitioned for by the property owner pursuant to Section 171.044 of the Florida statutes, making certain findings, providing for land use and zoning, and land development regulations, and enforcement of same, providing directions to the clerk of the commission, providing for a severability clause, and providing an immediate effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2021-38 as read by title only.
Thank you, Scott.
Yes,
Ms.
sir.
Wendy, will you give us an overview? If the applicant's not present, go ahead and slide right into your report and recommendation.
Okay. Before you, you have 7 different requests for coming into the city, and this is the first one that was just read into the record as far as the title of the ordinance for 2021-38. It is about
Hang on
3
one
acres.
second, Ms. Wendy.
Yes.
Question?
Were we gonna go read through Were we gonna read through each of these individually? I have them all under item 14.
We have to
They
do
are.
them each individually for a motion individually.
You
Okay.
still have to
So
read each
we'll
title.
stay in quasi-judicial for all 7 that are in this one agenda item. That's tripped us up a couple of times, but it's a way to save paper. I like it.
But we have one presentation and go through quickly. So this particular one that was just read for 2021-38 for that ordinance is one parcel, about 3 acres. It is a request by Morgan Lee Smith, who's the agent for RPM Auto. And this is located on the southwest corner of West Newberry Road and Southwest 226th Street. And that's the location of that. And the recommendation, I can go through each parcel, and then we can do all the motions and the different, the whole thing now.
Do your whole presentation, and then we'll
Okay.
come back.
And then the next one is the next ordinance, 2021-39, and that is a 5-acre piece that's located on the west side of Southwest 282nd Street, approximately a half mile south of Southwest 95th Road. You can see that on the map, and that's for the Carters. And the next one, 2021-40, that's 2 parcels, about 12 and a half acres, and it's located on the west side of Southwest 226th Street, and it's about 0.13 miles north of Northwest 15th. And then ordinance 2021-41 is about 254 acres, and that's for Farm Belt, Keith Lerner representing them, and that's on the west side of State Road 45 and on the north side of Northwest 78th Avenue. And 2021-42, for that ordinance, we have a property that's about 40 acres, 2 parcels, located on the east side of Northwest 298th Street, which is County Line Road, and along Northwest 32nd Avenue. And 2021-43, that's 5 parcels, and that's just on the north side of where the existing Dudley Farm State Park is already in the city, and then they're annexing the rest of that area. This is about 256 acres on the north side of West Newberry Road. And the last 2021-44 is a parcel of about 40.76 acres for Leonard Emmel, and this property is on about 3/4 of a mile to the west of Northwest 170th Street on the north side of West Newberry Road. And these ordinances come before you. This is your second public hearing. You had your first one on September 13th. This is the second hearing, which at this time you're able to enact the ordinance. The process for notification has gone through according to statute. The county has been notified.
And still no response.
And we haven't had no response. And the recommendation is for approval for enactment of each of those ordinances that we just went through, and those will be read by title only by the city attorney, and you'll go through each one separately that the mayor will take you through.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Wendy. And we've read into the record 2021-38, and we have the staff report and recommendation. Do I hear any public comment on ordinance 2021-38? Okay, seeing none, I've not been contacted by anybody wishing to claim a third-party intervener status on any of these 7 quasi-judicial, so I'm just going to say that the one time. Does the board have any questions of Wendy for this first ordinance, 38? Any questions? Would you like her to put the map back up on each one of them as we go through, or you got it in your head? You got it in front of you? Okay. All right. I'm assuming we don't need final arguments, and city attorney's already advised the decision-making body. So enter into deliberations. If there are no deliberations, I'll entertain a motion to approve conditions, continue, or deny ordinance 2021-38. I have a motion from Commissioner Farnsworth, second from Commissioner Martin. Any comments or questions on the motion before from the dais? Hearing none. Any comments or questions from the public? Hearing none. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. That's going to move us on to ordinance 2021-39. Scott, will you please read that into the record?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. This is an ordinance of the city of Newberry, Florida, annexing certain portions of unincorporated Alachua County that includes tax parcel number 02696-010-007 as more specifically described in this ordinance and as petitioned for by the property owner pursuant to Section 171.044 of the Florida statutes, making certain findings, providing for land use, zoning, and land development regulations, and enforcement of same, providing directions to the clerk of the commission, providing for severability clause, and providing immediate effective date. Appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2021-39 as read by title only upon second reading.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney.
Sir.
Is anybody from the public here to speak to ordinance 2021-39? Seeing none, I'm going to go all the way down to deliberations. If there are no deliberations, I'll entertain a motion to approve, deny, continue. I have a motion from Commissioner Farnsworth. Second from Commissioner Coleman. Any comments or questions on the motion before from the dais? Hearing none. Any comments or questions on the motion from the public? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passed unanimously. Mr. Attorney, please read ordinance 2021-40 into the record.
An ordinance of the city of Newberry, Florida, annexing certain portions of unincorporated Alachua County that includes tax parcel numbers 01925-009-000 and 01925-009-001 as more specifically described in this ordinance, as petitioned for by the property owner pursuant to 171.044 of the Florida statutes, making certain findings, providing for land use, zoning, and land development regulations, and the enforcement of same, providing directions to the clerk of the commission, providing a severability clause, providing an immediate effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2021-40 as read by title only.
Thank you, Scott.
Sure.
Do we have anybody from the public who's here to speak to this ordinance? Seeing none, we'll go on down to deliberations. We'll enter in deliberations. If there are no deliberations, I'll entertain a motion to approve, deny, approve of conditions.
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Martin, a second from Commissioner Farnsworth. Any comments or questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Seeing none, any public comments or questions on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passed unanimously. Scott, please read ordinance 2021-41 into the record.
An ordinance of the city of Newberry, Florida, annexing certain portions of unincorporated Alachua County that includes tax parcel number 01756-000-000 as more specifically described in this ordinance, as petitioned for by the property owner pursuant to Section 171.044 of the Florida statutes, making certain findings, providing for land use, zoning, and land development regulations, and enforcement of same, providing directions to the clerk of the court, clerk of the commission, providing a severability clause, and providing an immediate effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2021-41 as read by title only.
Thank you, Scott.
Yes,
Any
sir.
members of the public here to speak to ordinance 2021-41? Seeing none, we'll go down to deliberations. We'll enter into deliberations. If there are no deliberations, I'll entertain a motion to approve of conditions, continue, or deny. I have a motion from Commissioner Coleman, a second from Commissioner Mazon. Any comments or questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Hearing none. Any public comments or questions on the motion on the floor? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passed unanimously. Scott, please read ordinance 2021-42 into the record for us.
An ordinance of the city of Newberry, Florida, annexing certain portions of unincorporated Alachua County that includes tax parcel numbers 01834-004 and -000 and 01834-005-000 as more specifically described in this ordinance and is petitioned for by the property owner pursuant to Section 171.044 of the Florida statutes, making certain findings, providing for land use, zoning, and land development regulations, and the enforcement of same, providing directions to the clerk of the city commission, providing a severability clause, and providing an immediate effective date. Appropriate motions pass ordinance number 2021-42 as read by title only.
Thank you, Scott. Do we have any members of the public here to speak to ordinance 2021-42? Seeing none, we'll slide on down to deliberations. We'll enter into deliberations if there are none, and I'll entertain a motion to approve with conditions, continue, or deny ordinance 2021-42.
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Martin.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Clark. Comments, questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Seeing none. Public comments, questions on the motion on the floor? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. Scott, please read ordinance 2021-43 into the record for us.
An ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida, annexing certain portions of unincorporated Alachua County that includes tax parcel numbers 04262-000-000, 04263-001-000, tax parcel number 04263-000-000, tax parcel number 04272-000-000, and tax parcel number 04273-000-000. As more specifically described in this ordinance and as petitioned for by the property owner pursuant to section 171.044 of the Florida statutes and making certain findings, providing for land use, zoning, and land development regulations, and for the enforcement of same, providing directions to the clerk of the commission, providing a severability clause, and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2021-43 as read by title only.
Thank you, Scott.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any members of the public here to speak to this ordinance? Seeing none, we're going to go to deliberations. If there are no deliberations, I'll entertain a motion to approve with conditions, continue, or deny. I have a motion from Commissioner Mazon, second from Commissioner Martin. Any comments or questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Seeing none, any comments or questions from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Scott, please read ordinance 2021-44 into the record for us.
Yes, sir. This is ordinance number 2021-45, an ordinance of the City of Newberry. Did I miss it?
44.
44?
It's all right. It's all right.
Jumped ahead.
Slid down to an A minus there. We
Got
were
a
really
got a
good.
little excited. Hang on.
2144.
Thank you. This is an ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida, annexing certain portions of unincorporated Alachua County that includes tax parcel number 04273-001-000, as more specifically described in this ordinance, as petitioned for by the property owner pursuant to section 171.044 of the Florida statutes, making certain findings, providing for land use, zoning, and land development regulations and the enforcement of same, providing directions to the clerk of the commission, providing a severability clause, and providing an immediate effective date. Appropriate motion is pass ordinance number 2021-44 as read by title only.
Thank you, Scott. Do we have any members of the public here to speak to that ordinance? Seeing none, we'll go to deliberations. If there are no deliberations, I'll entertain a motion to approve with conditions, continue, or deny.
So moved.
Second.
I got a motion by Commissioner Martin, a second by Commissioner Coleman. We'll go with them down there. Any comments, questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Does the public have any comments, questions on the motion on the floor? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passed unanimously. Thank you, gentlemen. I know that's tedious, and I just want to say a special thank you to Wendy. I don't know that I've ever talked with you all much about this, but periodically in my free time, I've been trying to penetrate the state park system to figure out how to get Dudley Farm to annex into Newberry to close out that big enclave. I finally got a response from a gentleman, and I looped that response in with Wendy, and so ensued a flurry of emails over about a 48-hour window of time that was kind of similar to what we just did. And this guy was on top of it, and Wendy was on top of it, and I just kept getting these emails in, and everything that he asked for, she sent right there to him. And then we went radio silent. And a couple weeks ago, we annexed them in, and that's why I asked that question. Did we just annex Dudley Farm in? Because that was the culmination of about a 3-year attempt to, that bureaucracy, you can't get through the cracks. There's no crack in the state park system. So, but I want to say thank you to Wendy, because you were Johnny on the spot, and you answered all his questions, and that was crucial because, you know, working for the government, he could be gone tomorrow, and then we would have lost our shot. So thank you, Miss Wendy, for all that work.
And many thanks to Janine.
And Janine, yes. Well, I know it was a team effort.
Welcome to Newberry.
And now, welcome to Newberry. All right, and item 15, one we've all been waiting for. Brian, are you going to come down? This is second reading of ordinance 2021-45. Scott, while he's making his way down, you started reading it already. Let's go ahead and finish it off.
Yes, sir. An ordinance of the City of Newberry, Florida, creating the Newberry Community Redevelopment Trust Fund, providing for the authority and trustship, providing for administration, providing for tax increment, determinate tax increment amount, determining the appropriation obligation, calculating the tax increment, providing for severability, providing for inclusion in the code, providing for repeal, and providing for an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass ordinance number 2021-45 as read by title only.
Thank you. Scott,
Sir.
Brian, do you have a presentation for us? Kind of the same one?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's the same presentation as before, just going through what the CRA is and the steps. We've gone through step 1 and 2. We're now at step 3 and the final step of step 3, which is the approval on second reading, as stated by the city attorney. So recommended action is to enact ordinance 2021-45, authorizing the creation of the CRA TIF Trust Fund.
Now, before I ask for the motion, is this the final, when we clap this time, is it going to be the final clap? I know we had a whole CRA meeting after this. We can clap then too, I'm just asking.
Mr. Mayor, as long as it's taken to accomplish this, I hope you clap at the end of every CRA action, but certainly we can clap, and this is where the money that's eventually collected in the CRA will go. So it gives you the ability to start the redevelopment process.
I love it. Do I hear that motion?
So moved.
Motion from Commissioner Martin, second from Commissioner Mazon. Comments or questions from the dais? Comments or questions from the public? CRA, huge deal for Newberry, 20-year, 30-year. Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Well done, Brian. Great job to you and your team. Yes. Okay, item 16. Wendy, you didn't go far, did you? This is a request by Celebrations Catering to allow sale and consumption of beer, wine, and hard seltzer during a one-day outdoor event at the Easton Newberry Sports Complex, Resolution 2021-39/SP2101. Scott, you want to go ahead and read that into the record for us before Wendy gives her presentation?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is a resolution of the City of Newberry, Florida, approving application SP 21-01 for a special permit to allow the sale and consumption of alcoholic beverages on city-owned and/or maintained property, specifically the Easton Newberry Sports Complex located at 24815 Northwest 16th Avenue, pursuant to Section 6-5 of the City of Newberry Code of Ordinances, during a one-day adult volleyball, softball, and cornhole event on October 2nd, 2021.
Can you turn your microphone
on? Providing for certain permit conditions to protect the public safety and welfare, repealing all resolutions in conflict, and providing an effective date. Mr. Mayor, the appropriate motion is to pass Resolution 2021-39 as read by title only.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and let Wendy do the presentation before I ask for that motion. Go ahead and give us the presentation so we know what to put in the motion.
Okay. So this is an application by Celebrations Catering, and they're asking for that special permit that was just described in the ordinance title, that it is for the sale and consumption of alcoholic beverages, and specifically their request is for just doing the beer and wine and hard seltzer. And this is for a request because it comes before you because it is on city-owned or maintained property. In this case, it's the Easton Newberry Sports Complex, where they're already going to be having a volleyball, softball, cornhole tournament to be able to raise some money as it's a fundraiser for the volleyball programs in the area. So this request deals with the alcohol portion of whether you'd allow alcohol sales and consumption at this location during the period from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. on a one-day event, which is to be held on October 2nd. They have a site plan that's submitted as a part of the application that shows the designated area where the alcohol would be served and permitted for consumption. You have that in your packet. I do have a slide of that as well. Celebrations Catering also has their own alcohol policy that they have followed, and they've been in business for about 25 years or more, and they follow that as their standard operating procedure, and apparently they have their employees all sign that when they do these events. The anticipated attendance is about 150 people. The overall location being in the Easton Newberry Sports Complex, when you're looking down on the aerial, you can see that, you see the area where you have the fields, and the next slide shows you that their little site plan, just to kind of give you an idea of what they're doing. You can see the kind of the orangish-brown color showing the cornhole up on the left, and then you've got the green area showing volleyball area, and you've got softball designated kind of in the middle, and then down to the just a little bit lower than that, and then you have that kind of a, supposed to be kind of a yellow, looks kind of gold to me here, but that goes around the perimeter of the fields, around where that little, there's a drive that goes around there, as you saw in that aerial before this, and that designates where the alcohol, it can't go behind that. So it'd be within that areas, and then you also have a little designation there for the red that shows the food service area that they'll be doing. So the applicant is here and wants to make any comments. Be happy to let them do that now, and then I'll...
Let's go through questions with staff, and then we'll hear from the applicant.
I mean, I can finish my presentation.
Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were, yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I don't know if anyone, never mind.
No.
Okay, let me finish then. This is the requirement in our code for special permits, as we went through, that it's required to go through this process before the commission to be approved. The permit itself goes through where staff is recommending approval of the permit with conditions, and those conditions are listed in the resolution that you have as part of your packet, and those conditions are, as on the screen, dealing with who it's issued to, that it be Celebrations Catering, specifically describing that it's just for the one-day event from 11 to 9, that they have to designate this area according to their site plan where it will be consumed and sold, and that they have to put signage to make sure that that's clear, and that they would make sure that they have their alcohol state license on file with the city and make sure that that's current. And it's in accordance to their alcohol service policy. So the recommendation is for approval, and that would conclude staff's report.
All right, Ms. Wendy, thank you. Do we have any questions of staff before we ask to hear from the applicant? Commissioner Farnsworth.
So when will prohibit people from bringing alcohol from outside into the stadium?
Well, that's supposed to be governed by people that are doing the event, and I thought there was someone. Yes, oh, there you are.
And we'll get to the applicant. Do you have another question at staff? Because I think the applicant would probably be better able to address that kind of a thing.
On doing that, they have to have they're working with Travis, and they, as far as coordinating where they're going to do things and how they're doing them.
Okay. Do we have any other questions of staff?
Is the property being rented, or how does that work? How are they using our property?
Yeah. How are we using it? I'll let the applicant, because they've been dealing with Recreation Department directly. This is the process that they're using to do their fundraiser for the volleyball.
I think Mike has the answer.
I'm going to let.
And Mr. Mayor, this isn't a straight event that is not affiliated with Newberry. This group of folks, they regularly utilize our facilities as kind of a thing. They come out and use the sand pit courts. They also use the grass courts out at Easton. So in a way, it's a city-sponsored event in terms of our skin in the game is use of our facilities and use of some of our equipment.
So the answer is this is an ongoing partnership with them.
And what's the benefit to us?
Programming, it sounds like. Programming.
Correct. It is use of our facilities, getting this team. There's plenty of Newberry residents to participate in this. The Taylor, the guy that kind of heads it up, is currently moved on, but he runs a beach volleyball program here out of Newberry's. So it's just it's a recreation partnership that we have with this group of folks.
Any other questions after y'all want to hear from the applicant? Staff? Question of staff. Commissioner Clark?
This has probably been addressed many times. I know we've talked, Mike. Is there like a hold harmless type liability or insurance thing that takes care of us?
Absolutely,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor. We would require them to indemnify us.
Okay. Okay, let's bring the applicant up. And whoever wants to take the lead and answer, can you talk us through a little bit of, what's your plan? Have you talked with ASO? What's your plan to mitigate? Who comes in? Who's checking IDs, making sure they're not going out? Those kinds of issues. So just walk us through, introduce yourself to us first, because not everybody knows who you are.
My name's Taylor Wright.
Florian Steffen.
We run Gainesville Volleyball Incorporated. So as far as what you're talking about, we are utilizing the fence of the softball fields themselves to be the boundary. There are 4 exit points that will be covered with signs that say no alcohol beyond this point. So we have 4 pinch points where we can kind of keep a good eye on, make sure people aren't taking alcohol out into the parking lot and drinking where they shouldn't be drinking it, as well as keep an eye on who might be drinking as well. The softball fields to the right side, which are the baseball fields, will be utilized for a softball tournament that's being run by Tom Fox, who runs a lot of events around here, and he's coming to help us run that side of it. We will have cornhole and volleyball being ran on the 2 smaller softball fields to the left. The food and bar will be right behind the. There's a map somewhere. It'll be right behind the snack bar that's in the middle, so it'll be really easy to kind of keep an eye on where things are going and what's going on. Celebrations Catering has an entire SOP on how they handle ID checking. They will be checking IDs on every single interaction and transaction. So this will not just be a blanket, ban them when they come in and then hope no one drinks that's underage. So we'll be physically checking people as they're coming up every single time receiving a product. Other than that, we have talked with ASO a little bit, and they basically told us our general size of events that we've had so far is not something large enough that would warrant needing to have external ASO on premise, but they do know that's going on, so they can go ahead and be advised that they can have someone in the general area.
And the company you've hired to run this is here in attendance as
Yes,
well
sir.
tonight. So did you guys want to come up and add anything to what
Sure.
Mr. Wright just said?
No, not necessarily.
Can you introduce yourself to us?
Yes, I can. My name is Deborah Simone. I'm actually a human resources manager for High Life Projects, Inc., which owns Celebrations Catering. Sometimes I jump in and act like a business manager, so that's how I got involved, and that's why I'm here greeting each of you today. Is there a specific question I might be able to answer?
Commissioner Mazon?
Is there a limit on the alcohol consumption
Well,
per
absolutely.
guest?
I mean, part of the SOP is to monitor whether anyone comes up. If they're already intoxicated, they're not going to be served. If they've had 2 or 3 drinks, they're going to get cut off. So it just depends on how they act and how they present themselves. Our staff is very trained. They know not to overserve, if that's your question.
Could I add one quick thing to that? So while there are going to be some people coming to just be observers of the event, largely they are there to provide drinks and food to the athletes themselves that are there competing. So typically we see athletes, they're going to have 2 to 3, maybe 4 beers over the course of the day, but they're not going to get drunk. They're there to have a good time and play. I don't think they play very good if they're drunk. So they're going to try to win some money.
You get better as you go on the day?
Man, hey, I've seen some good cornhole players play drunk.
Commissioner Mazon, you got any more questions? No. Any other commissioners have any questions? What's the price point for the beer? What kinds of beer you're selling? What's the price point for them? Are we
That's
talking
a great
99-cent Natty
question
Light,
that I
or are we talking about?
Well, they'll probably more be in the range of $4 or $5. Honestly, I didn't
Craft beers.
ask them that specific. Are you wanting to come? Is there anything specific that you? Yeah. So frankly, I don't have that answer for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things that we've had periodically, we've had these questions about selling alcohol, and I have nothing against selling alcohol. I think people that get together for these kind of things, they want to have a good time, and they're generally
Have
not.
a few beers.
But generally, the market will mitigate any of those concerns when beer is $5 or $6 a beer. When beer is $2 a beer, I think you're inviting people to have a different type of good time that we might
Yeah.
not want to encourage.
Unfortunately, part of our business model is to make money. So.
Well, I would hope that that's fortunate, right? So you're going to want to
Well,
sell
I'm just
that.
saying, yeah, that's part of our business model, and $2 beers is not going to cut that for us. We're, taking quite a bit of time, bringing staff up from Gainesville and set up and all that sort of thing, so, yeah.
Okay. Other questions? Commissioner Farnsworth.
What is hard seltzer?
It's actually been around for about 3 to 5 years, as far as I know. It's essentially White Claw, my administrative
Did you bring some
assistant,
to sample tonight?
Yeah.
I've heard White Claw was really a good drink. Is that true?
Pardon?
White Claw is really a good drink.
I wouldn't give you a nickel for a semi with it.
I personally have never tried it. I'm kind of a wine snob myself, so, but yeah, people really do like it. It's. I listened to a program on it actually, and it's a new thing. People like it.
It's for new people, it ain't for us.
Won't be any Jack Daniels available with it.
Yeah, no Jack Daniels. That's a hard liquor.
Me and Commissioner Coleman won't be there then.
I don't know. We might serve cake. I think you said you like. Correct me if I'm wrong. Is there somewhere in the record where he said he liked pound cake? I don't know. That's what
She
I
did
thought
her
I
research.
heard.
Now, she did her research coming here tonight.
Oh, that's nice.
Does Commissioner have any other questions? I have one last one for staff. It looks, I don't know where Wendy went to. Wendy, and this might be a mic. It looks like they're taking up the whole compound. We have any other concurrent activities running that aren't adult leagues that day? There any kid activities going on that day?
Nope.
Mr.
Mayor, my understanding that, I misspoke on one item, but we're running the softball part. So the softball tournament is a city-sponsored softball event.
Adult softball.
Yeah, it's adult softball. Our rec department will be operating that and collecting revenues from that. We're also getting a percentage of the revenues that are from the registration associated with cornhole event and with volleyball event. So we do have expected positive revenues coming to the city by hosting this day-long adult recreation event.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Farnsworth.
Yeah, that answers one of my questions. We're raising rates on electricity and water and all, and I don't want to be letting people use our facilities without getting some kind of revenue out of it. We charge out here for the baseballs and softball out there, so
correct.
I think we should also be getting revenue off this too.
Yes, just a misunderstanding on my part. My apologies.
Okay, any last questions for either the applicant, the catering company, or staff? Commissioner Coleman.
I'm just going to say that the gentleman with the green shirt on is a great coach and really great with all students and everything. That my daughter played volleyball for him, and he's very above. I'm just telling you, he's above board. Everything he says he'll do, he'll do.
I would concur with those sentiments. Other thoughts, questions? Okay, thank you, guys. If there are no other thoughts, questions, we've read the resolution into the record. Do I have a motion to approve, can you put up the staff, oh, it's up there. Approve resolution 2021-39.
Move to approve.
I have a motion from Commissioner Clark, a second from Commissioner Coleman. Any comments, questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Does the public have any comments, questions on the motion on the floor? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. You guys have a great time, make some money, and come back and do it again next year. All right, that takes us to item 17, which is replat approval request of 2 existing lots. We're going to go back into quasi-judicial. My goodness, back into quasi-judicial, back again. Okay, in a minute, I'm going to read, and I'm going to ask the attorney to read into the record Resolution 2021-44/SD2106. Before I do that, I'm going to explain the rules concerning testimony. Primarily, the substantial and competent evidence must be met when the board makes a decision, and shall state the following: all public testimony will be taken under oath. Everyone testifying will be subject to cross-examination on documents and exhibits. Shall be entered into evidence. Giving opinion testimony is limited to experts. Closing arguments will be limited to the evidence of record. Mr. Attorney, would you please read Resolution 2021-44 into the record for us?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, this is Resolution 2021-44, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Newberry, Florida, approving with appropriate conditions and safeguards the replat of original Newberry Block 55, lots 1 and 2, parcel number 02262-001-000, as authorized under Section 5.18 of the City of Newberry Land Development Regulations in a residential single-family 2 RSF 2 zoning district on certain lands within the corporate limits of the City of Newberry, Florida, repealing all resolutions in conflict and providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass resolution number 2021-44 as read by title only.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Before I read the order of procedure, Ms. Judy, can I ask you to please swear in anyone, because we did not do this quasi-judicial before. So are you still sworn in? I guess if you're the only one talking, I guess you're still sworn in. You're the only. Is anybody in the audience here to speak to this one? Okay, then we'll do any ex parte on this one from the Commissioner Coleman, Commissioner Clark, Farnsworth, Martin, Mazon. I have none either. Okay, we're going to hear staff overview. The applicant's not present, so we won't hear from here. So we're going to hear the staff report and recommendation. I've not been contacted by anybody which can claim third-party intervener status. That's going to move us to public comment. Any member of the public will have 3 minutes to comment on this agenda item. Then the applicant cross-examine staff, cross-examine members of the decision-making body can ask questions through the chair. Final arguments will be heard. The city attorney will advise the decision-making body applicable law will enter into deliberations. After deliberations, we'll take a vote. Let's go ahead, staff.
All right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, as stated, this is a request to replat 2 existing lots. They're out of the original Newberry survey. Both the lots were oriented to face north onto 3rd Avenue, Southwest 3rd Avenue, and the owner of the lots, Mr. Pat Post, wanted to reorient them so that they faced east onto Southwest 251st Street. It was reviewed by the city surveyor, and the new lots do conform with RSF2 minimum lot square footage requirements. This is what the old lots configuration looked like. Southwest 3rd Avenue to the north, Southwest 251st Street to the east, and then the reconfiguration. That's the full plat, but a close-up. They've turned the lots basically to face east, and that was the extent of the request to replat. And so staff's recommendation is to approve Resolution 2021-44 to approve the replatting of the parcel.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any members of the public wishing to comment on this agenda item? Seeing none, members of the decision-making body, do you have any questions for staff? Seeing none, Mr. Attorney, would you advise the decision-making body's applicable law?
Substantial and competent evidence, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. We'll enter into deliberations. There are no deliberations. I'll entertain a motion to approve conditions, continue or deny. I have a motion from Commissioner Clark, second from Commissioner Martin. I saw with the, was that a second?
We're not, this isn't an auction, man.
I have a second from Commissioner Mazon then.
Actually,
You have a question. You're going backwards on me. Okay.
yeah. So these were originally oriented to face 3rd, and now they're going to be oriented to face 251st. So before we had one property that abutted the DOT pit. Now we got 2 that back up to the DOT. Has that got any bearing on anything you got to worry about?
Mr. Mayor, it shouldn't really make any difference in terms of the practical application or interaction with the stormwater management facility. The overall size of the lot stayed almost the same in terms of the square footage. It actually widened the lots by 5 foot each, so there was a little bit of a shift to the width of the lots versus the depth of the lots changed slightly.
And my other question is, were we in discussions with DOT about running drainage off 2741 back to there along 3rd Avenue? Is this going to affect the easements or anything like that in order to get that done?
Mr. Davis?
Mr. Mayor, I can answer that question. Do I need to be sworn? Okay. Mr. Mayor, no, the work that we were doing with FDOT to get drainage from Velagio's Pizza simply was getting it underneath from the north side, no, the east side of State Road 45 to the west side. Once we got it to the west side, there was already a conveyance system that took the water all the way back there. And I think since they completed that work, we've not had any further stormwater issues along the State Road 45 corridor.
Okay, I'm good.
Thank you, Commissioner Martin. We had a motion from Commissioner Clark that was properly seconded by Commissioner Mazon. Any comments or questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Any comments or questions from the public on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. And that takes us, I think, out of our last, yes. All right, our agenda item 18 is appointment to fill the vacancy on Planning and Zoning Historic Architectural Review Board. In front of you, not in front of me because I don't vote, you should have a ballot. You should have a ballot. Now, first I want to say I appreciate the commission taking extra time to give the applicants the opportunity, hang on one second, opportunity to let these applicants give you a call, talk to you, you get to know them. As I expressed to you, I really feel like we need to do more diligence, making sure that the P&Z is reflective of you guys and your vision, and so that the advice that they're giving you is advice to make the vision you have, the vision you ran on, the vision you were elected to achieve. They're giving you advice that's going to make that happen. So you have in front of you a ballot here. I actually do have just a sample one. What I would like to do is ask you each to just rank 1, 2, 3, 1 being your top pick, 2 being your second pick, 3 being your third pick. You're going to pass those down this way in a second to me, and I'm going to ask the clerk if she would, maybe the clerk would just come up and collect them. But before we do that, you guys have been talking to these applicants. I don't vote on the applicants, so I have not spent my time doing that. And maybe you had an interview or conversation with one of them that you would like to share with the rest of the commission as a sort of a pitch for why you think that person should fill that vacancy. So before you vote on it, does anyone want to make that, because that may change another commissioner's mind if you haven't had that opportunity. So does anyone want to make a pitch for somebody before we vote, or you just want to vote and we'll go with that? Just want to make sure everybody has the opportunity.
Hey, Mr. Mayor, our professional numbers guru, our CFO, did comment. He looked at it and he said, this really numerically only works, or mathematically only works, if you rate them 1 through whatever the number is. And so I would ask for a minor change to the procedure. Instead of just your 1, 2, and 3 picks,
well, remember that Joy Glanzer has removed her application. So
I'm so confused.
All Dallas is saying, and I think he's right, I just don't think it's necessary, is that we need to rank 1 through 10 in order to really get the lowest number. But I don't think we need to do that. Does anybody? Let's just start with the 1 through 3. We've got 2 ballots, so if we hit a roadblock, does anybody want to make a pitch for somebody that they talked to before you actually write down your 1, 2, 3, Commissioner Clark?
Mr. Mayor, let me just say that there was a lot of competition in this thing, and there's a lot on the commissioners to put a name out there with somebody. But for me, I've talked to, matter of fact, gentleman sitting here tonight, Mr. Long, and I've had long conversations, and I appreciate everybody. And as I've told some of the applicants, just because you don't get this position, don't stop trying to be involved with the city of Newberry. And I've asked that and for me, I've ranked mine, but I feel like the way we do this, I don't like it. I don't like the way we do this. So but I'll rank mine, but 1 through 3. If we're going to do the 1 through whatever, then I want to go back to the applicant's paperwork to be able to do that here off the top of my head.
We used to just throw out a name, and then we would debate over that one name. So it's kind of whoever reached for the mic first.
Well, let me throw out we had a alternate at the P and Z, which was Janice Smith. So for me, that was the one to give her the first shot. She was the alternate, and she does have a background in history with older buildings, remodeling and doing things. And so anyway, that's the one I'm going with as number one. But she was the alternate on this board, so
All right.
I'll throw that out there.
Does any other commissioner want to take a moment to share any conversations or reasoning?
Yeah, I will.
Commissioner Mazon?
Since we're putting it out there, yeah, I will. My vote was based basically off of, I spoke with actually 4 different applicants that called in, and my vote came down with Long being my vote. I mean, he has been in front of the board, and that is okay, right? Okay. He has been in front of the board with a decision that was messed up between the city, and he handled it well. So I feel that, plus he's wanting to be more involved with the community. He's a part of the 100 Black Man, which actually holds a program for our African-American youth. And this is just another step for him, honestly, to be a part of this P&Z board. Plus he also has connections with, when it comes to construction and with our low-income housing. I was speaking with him on that. So for me, that is my vote, and I would pitch him any day.
Commissioner Coleman. There you go.
I agree with Commissioner Mazon. Mr. Long was here. I was impressed, to be honest with you, so it's also my number one pick.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, each one of the commissioners put your name on it, so we're not a secret ballot. So,
Yeah. Okay, so hang on one
Mr.
second.
Mayor, let me throw this out there. As I
Clark.
said, I've talked to Mr. Long, and he is on my 1, 2, 3. So I'm just saying that is, so let's do our 1, 2, 3 and let it wash out.
Okay, so now that the commission has heard everyone else, do your 1, 2, 3. If you have any changes that you make, Commissioner Farnsworth, will you reach for the mic? Commissioner Farnsworth.
Yes, I just like to say my number one choice is Peggy Lloyd. She comes to all the commission meetings. She participates in other events. She's currently on the HARP. Yep, and so she does have some knowledge of what's going on, and I think this should be a good person for this position.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Martin, did you want to weigh in on any of your conversations, or are you ready to just do your 1, 2, 3?
I have nothing else to add, really.
Okay. So go back to your ballots if you heard anything that changes your mind. If not, let's just go ahead. And Ms. Judy, would you just walk up and collect them from everyone, and you'll tell us. And whoever the low score is, then I'll ask for a motion on that person. We'll see how that goes. If that motion fails, then we'll go to the second lowest scoring person. We'll ask for a motion on that person, and then we will go from there. Make sure everybody's got your name on your ballot. And I do not have a ballot. I'm a non-voting mayor. I have no power. And we'll just take a few seconds there to review that. And if you want a second set of eyes, Miss Judy, I'm sure Sierra can come down. And this time of night, I always like a second set of eyes. Take your time. Actually, why don't we call a 5-minute recess and use a bio break? We'll call this back to order. I appreciate all the people out there that were able to do calculus on the fly for us really quickly, because we had to figure that out. And lo and behold, we've got the three names that you guys talked about. Right now, we have Janice Smith as our number 1, Mr. Long as our number 2, and Miss Peggy as our number 3. So if we follow the procedure that we just adhered to, we would make a motion for Janice. If that's who we want, then that motion would pass. If you say, well, I've sat here and thought about it, and I'd like to maybe go for number 2 or number 3, right? Then you can wait, and we'll just work through those 3 and see how we do. Does that sound good? Or do we want to just hash out those 3? Because those are clearly the 3. One of those people are who you want. So we can go through Janice first, and just yay or nay, up and down. We can do a roll call vote each one. If it passes or fails, and we'll go to Donald Long. Same thing, yay or nay, and then we'll go to Miss Peggy. You want to do round 2 with just those 3? You want to do round 2? We have another ballot. We can do round 2 with just those 3. 1, 2, 3, and then that will serve as the motion.
I'm down with that. It don't matter. Because.
Hang on, I got 2 people talking, and I'm not quite sure I followed. Do we want to do a second round with just those 3 and eliminate all the other ones? That way, because what we had was some votes for other people. That's what took some time to figure out how to calculate that out. So we got to the 3 people that you guys talked about. Do we want to reballot it? I just need one commissioner to reach for the mic and give me direction. What do we want to do? We want to motion each one?
Mr. Mayor?
Or reballot? Commissioner Martin.
Let's revote based on the 3 finalists.
Okay, so you have a second ballot in front of you. Now there's only 3 names, right? Janice, Peggy, and Donald. Same thing, 1, 2, 3, low vote wins with just those 3. Everybody fill out, and don't forget to sign. Do you have extras?
We do not. I don't
Okay.
have, I thought we were going to vote.
I have 2. Can we go make a copy of this one right here? We just need 4 more. Does he have copies?
Or you can give us back one.
We scratched all over them.
I know they're good.
These are good?
I mean.
I think we just do a vote out loud.
I think they're bringing new ballots.
Well, we could, but then we might end up voting like all 3. Okay, since we have extras, we just need 3 extras. I had 2 sitting here. So Commissioner Farnsworth, Clark, and Coleman each need a ballot. Take a minute. First choice, second choice, third choice. Just with those 3.
Mine's already filled out.
Will you put that back in my drawer for me, will you? All right. Don't get these mixed up with the old ballots. New ballots. New ballots. Did you sign them? No, you didn't sign them. Did sign them. That was Commissioner Maison. Would you write his name on that one for me? Oh, yeah. All right. Just trigonometry this time.
Anybody know who's winning the football game? Here, I'll check.
I mean, all that matters is we know that FSU is losing.
Who's that? Dallas Cowboys.
Mr. Long, you're not an FSU fan, are you? We need to know that before the votes are final.
Thank you, sir. We were in the hospital in ICU.
Fighting COVID.
I didn't know it. I feel bad about it.
We still have a CRA meeting
After this. Yeah. All right.
I got an early trip in morning, boys. I need to be in Crystal River at 7 o'clock for a group trip.
Well, we've only got 2 hours left tonight.
No, we're going to hang 'em high. Good choice. I think it did. I think the flood waters, know, Steve Hatch got I'll tell you what, it's
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, on round 2, we have a low score for Donald Long, a second for Peggy Lowe, and a third for Janice Smith. So once again, if we adhere to that policy that we've laid out, the procedure we laid out, we would entertain a motion to appoint Mr. Long to the P&Z, and we'll see if that motion passes or fails. I have a motion. Hang on 1 second. 1 second. I handed you one for Commissioner Mazon first. We're good?
No, we're not. This is one. This is from Mazon. His was not counted.
You want this back?
Yes.
Hang on 1 second. Round
I thought
3.
he was
Motion.
Round 1.
This looks like the Arizona.
I got a motion to
thing.
leave it.
If it's yours, yeah.
Dallas is running for this.
It would be the same.
We should be good.
Yeah.
Motion.
Okay.
This is how it came without Mazons.
Oh, okay.
This is what you gave me, so I
Right.
thought this was something to do with the old one, so all numbers are here.
Okay.
You see what
So-
I'm saying?
I got my bad.
Okay. He just has to fix his.
I got you.
You know what? Brown.
And I'm sorry, Tony, I thought that was the first round.
Okay.
Jaguars is over for.
So,
I think Alabama.
okay, so we are still in the same
Same situation.
Same results.
Sorry.
That's okay. No problem. Okay, same results. With Mr. Long as the low, Miss Peggy as the second low, Miss Smith as the third low. So I hear a motion to appoint Mr. Long to the P&Z.
A motion.
I have a motion from Commissioner Mazon. Who said it? I have a second from Commissioner Coleman. Do we need a roll call vote? Roll call vote. Commissioner Coleman? I'm sorry. Any questions, comments on the motion floor from the dais? Any public questions, comments on the motion on the floor? Hearing none, roll call vote. Commissioner Coleman.
Aye.
Commissioner Clark. Commissioner Farnsworth. Commissioner Martin. Commissioner Mazon.
Aye.
Motion passed unanimously. Mr. Long, thank you so much for coming to 3 meetings to get to this point. Thank you for your willingness to serve. Ms. Peggy, thank you for your continued willingness to participate and be a part of everything. And we do love having you here, keeping us straight with it. And as soon as I see Ms. Smith, I'll say the same thing to her. And with that, we will move to comments. Ms. Long, did you want to say anything? Sorry, I should have given you that before we went to comments. We still have that unresolved issue of your status as an FSU fan.
Okay. I'm an FSU fan.
Hey,
Oh,
I appreciate you guys considering me. The conversation I had, I learned a lot about the city and what you guys actually do on a weekly, monthly basis. Like I say, whatever I can do and however I can help, it's going to So, appreciate you guys and thank you for the consideration.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate you. And with that, city manager comments. Remembering that we have a CRA meeting after this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just as an update, legislative delegation, Alachua County Legislative Delegation meeting was today. Mayor Marlowe spoke and outlined your legislative agenda for 2022. Did a fantastic job, so I'm expecting a windfall of revenue
Checks in the
coming
mail.
into the city. So just wanted to report on that. Is very well received. Mr. Mayor and Commission, we met with county staff today, discussed County Road 337 alternatives. It was an introductory meeting. I didn't feel like we got tons of traction today, but hopefully we will. It's a really good idea, and it is a win-win idea. It's a good idea for Alachua County as well. So hopefully we'll get there. And then 2 reminders. We have a workshop on Monday, October 11th at 6:30 to finalize the strategic plan. If you'll remember on our last strategic planning workshop, we left one item kind of out there, so we're going to wrap that up, and then we should be ready to put our strategic plan to paper and something we can get adopted. And finally, Mr. Mayor, on Monday the 25th at 6 p.m. we're scheduling an educational workshop for the commission related to the implementation of impact fees. Concludes my comments, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Mr. Attorney?
Mr. Mayor, we have our November 18th ethics training seminar at the law office, and so you all are invited to come and should have a good program. Kirsten is spearheading that along with the rest of our staff. Andrea's helping out as well. I'm going to be in High Springs that evening, so I cannot be there, but the rest of our staff will, I'm sure, do a very good job with that, and mark your calendars, so we'll have something for you to eat and drink while you're there, and we'll get it done. Lizzie, come on up to the podium. Part of being a lawyer is public speaking, so you get to introduce who you are and what you do for a law firm, and then Alyssa do the same. You all know Alyssa, but you probably didn't know that she's also helping out in the law office, so I want both of you all to tell us what it is that you're doing for us.
Yeah. One at a time.
There's safety in numbers.
Yeah, safety in numbers, yeah.
That's right.
Microphone, please. Is it on?
Is it green? As soon as it's green, it's on.
All right, Lizzie, you first.
Hello.
Elizabeth Quintana.
My name is Elizabeth Quintana, and it's a pleasure to meet all of you guys tonight. I just recently started at Folds & Walker as an intern. I do filing and I work up at the front desk. I've been learning quite a bit so far, and I'm very excited to see what else I can learn from this amazing attorney and from all of you coming to these meetings.
Well,
Thank
welcome.
you.
We appreciate you sitting. This was a great one to come to. Budgets
Very,
are
very entertaining.
where the rubber meets the road.
Oh, well, hi, I'm Alyssa. I don't know if any of you guys have met me, but yeah, I'm also excited to start coming to these meetings more. Yeah, I'm working as a filing clerk for Mr. Walker, Mr. Folds, so I'm excited to be there and excited to be here. Yeah.
Alyssa is climbing the ladder fast. She started as an unpaid intern for me, and she left that behind in the dust really quickly.
I did not leave it. I am
Yes.
still an intern.
Showing her intelligence.
Yeah, that's right. Moving away from me is a smart move.
Not that, but moving up the pay ladder.
Yeah. Well, thank you both for making it through tonight. We appreciate it.
They came here on their own initiative. They both wanted to see what being a city attorney, they're budding city attorneys, and so they wanted to see what this is all about, and they're both very interested in going to law school at the university. They're both in school. Where are you at in school, both of you guys?
We're both third year.
And if you saw their resumes, you would say, wow, they are, you would be very proud to know them, because they are really, really strong.
And you'd be really embarrassed about your resume.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Does that take her to the
That's another no.
Thank y'all. We appreciate you.
Thank you, ladies. That's all I had, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Madam Clerk?
I don't have anything. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. We'll go backwards again. Commissioner Mazon, you got anything for us tonight?
Thank you to the staff. That was a big agenda tonight, and I thought they did a great job, presentation-wise and everything. And welcome to the P&Z board, Mr. Long, and congratulations to the girls. Keep a good job going. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Barton? Commissioner Farnsworth? Commissioner Clark?
I would just like to say there again, you know, what's happened in our town. I hope these things ease up. And if we do catch whoever's doing this to our school, I hope we absolutely make an example out of them.
Commissioner, hang on one second.
Yeah, the Afghanistan, the American Legion put on the Welcome Home Afghanistan parade. It was out at Clark Plantation. I hope it was a hit for them. It seemed good in the morning and it kind of died out, but you know what? That's baby steps, and hopefully if we do these things again, and for the veterans, I hope a little bit more participation.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Coleman?
I'd like to thank Mike and Dallas. This was a very smooth and transition getting this done, and I mean, there's one thing, being here, 10 years now? You got a question, they answer it, they get it done. I mean, they're just, see people how great they are at their jobs.
Absolutely. Thank you, sir. I want to reiterate what Commissioner Clark said. The FBI is involved. ASO is working with the FBI to figure out who is responsible for this. We had another incident today, and I want to, clearly encourage all the parents to talk to your kids. Somebody's talking somewhere, and there's a $1,000 reward. If you look on the schools page, it's Crime Stoppers. If I could pull up the phone number here quickly, I will do that. But please talk to your kids. Let them know that this is anonymous. This is not okay. This is a huge financial burden every time we deploy this number of resources. We are putting parents through emotional distress, especially when you threaten sniper fire at kids who are standing in a park. The number for Crime Stoppers is 352-372-STOP, and it's a $1,000 reward for any information that leads to the arrest. On the same note, I want to thank our city because the first day that this happened, I've been teaching at Newberry High School for 15 years. We've never had a bomb threat in 15 years. The students handled it amazingly, but we were at West Park, at Jimmy Durden Park. The bathrooms were locked. There was no way. The city came immediately to make sure the kids had restroom facilities. Unfortunately, we got better the second day, and not only did they come and open up the restroom facilities, but they brought some chairs for the elderly teachers to have a seat. They brought some water so that we were standing out there for about 3 hours in the sun. They brought us some fluids. So we appreciate that, and I have sent an email to all 3 principals in the city of Newberry offering to host a meeting so that we can put some of those things as automatic. That just sort of happens, because part of the problem for each school is everyone has to leave. Nobody can get back into school to get anything that's, water, chairs, tables, anything that you might need. And most of the schools, once you're out of the building, our access to shade is very limited. So it's a dangerous situation. It's not funny, especially if you tried to imagine 800 elementary kids standing in the sun for 3 hours, and there's no over there. There's no bathrooms, so that's a situation where we need to figure out how to address this. And I have every confidence that ASO is going to do so. Every time one of these calls happens, we get more evidence. So, Mr. Clark.
One last thing, Mr. Mayor, in this community, to tell you how good this community is, even when bad happens. Today, when I went to pick up a pizza, a couple had 13 children that were involved in this, standing somewhere, and they took them to Villaggio's to eat pizza. So kudos to this community.
And that's kind of where I wanted to leave this as well, because I've heard a lot of negative comments about what's going on with Newberry, and Newberry's turning into Gainesville and all of those kinds of things. And it only takes one person to call in a bomb threat. And over the course of the 3 days, I have seen our kids, I've seen our parents answer the call and do tremendous acts of kindness, little acts of kindness. So I would encourage everybody to remember that on the whole, Newberry has some of the best kids around. We have parents who are parenting, and these kids are respectful. When you have 600 teenagers have to evacuate to a site that apparently Jimmy Durden Park was a secret. Most of them didn't know there was a park down there, and they did it in a professional way. They did it in a, they were quiet. They got down there. It was amazing. The principal was able to address all 600 kids, and he didn't even have to use the bullhorn. It got so quiet when he talked to everybody. And now that's well-behaved and respectful children, and that's what we have in Newberry. So I'm going to keep reminding people that, for every one bad apple, we got 99 good ones. And that's what we need to keep the focus on. Also, just wanted to say thank you publicly to Representative Clemens and Henson for coming out. Commissioner Mary Helen Willer was also there, coming out on Saturday to the parade. I think it's always important when our local elected officials come to Newberry, come to the events. And obviously, we want to thank the American Legion for having the heart and the mind to say thank you to the vets who are coming home. And that concludes my comments, citizen comments. Hearing none, we are adjourned, and we are in CRA meeting. Mr. Are you staying here for this, right? Okay, just checking. Okay, we're going to call the meeting, this regularly scheduled September 27th CRA, Community Redevelopment Agency meeting to order. I'd like to start with approval of the agenda, which I have no modifications, additions, or changes to. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Martin, a second from Commissioner Coleman. Any questions, comments on the agenda from the dais? Any questions, comments from the public? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. The first item is the consent agenda. I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as it was published. I have a motion from Commissioner Farnsworth, second from Commissioner Clark. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passes unanimously. Our second item on the agenda, and Brian's going to give us a presentation on the way this resolution is written.
I bet you can't talk as fast.
We can give it a shot.
I would not even try.
Trip over the
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So one of the first orders of business for the newly formed Community Redevelopment Agency is the selection of a chair and a chair pro tem because the commission voted to also serve as the CRA board. They are still separate independent entities from each other, legal entities from each other. And so you do have to have your own chair and chair pro tem. And so what staff recommends is that the CRA board mirror the composition of the city commission, where you would have the mayor acting as the chair, and then you would select a chair pro tem to serve in the absence of the mayor.
Okay, that's the recommended action. Thoughts?
Sounds good to me, so moved.
I have a motion from Commissioner Clark, second from Commissioner Coleman. Any comments or questions on the motion on the floor from the dais?
Do we name the vice chair now?
Well, right, I guess we got to break this up. The first motion would be I serve as the chair. We need a second motion for a chair pro tem, and then a third motion for a chair vice pro tem.
If
Mr.
Mayor, if the board decided to completely mirror the city commission, and then the whoever the
Can we just wrap that
mayor
into one
pro
motion?
tem would also serve as the chair pro tem on the CRA board, you could do it in one motion.
Okay, so if we want me to be the chair, Commissioner Martin to be the chair pro tem, Commissioner Clark to be the vice pro tem, we could wrap that into one motion, and that would be items 2, 3, and items 2 and 3.
I move to approve that, just like it was.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, I have a motion. So we're going to amend your first motion to that second one. Do you amend your second to his amended first so that we wrap all three in? Because you seconded the motion on the floor. Okay, so Commissioner Clark makes a motion that the CRA board completely mirror the commission. Commissioner Coleman seconded that amended motion. Any comments or questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Hearing none. Any comments or questions on the motion on the floor from the public? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passed unanimously. Item 4, that takes care of item 3, right? Item 4 will be the adoption of the 2022 budgets. No? We still do 3? We did 2, which is the, okay, so 3 is appointment of executive director of the Newberry Community Agency Board. Brian?
Mr. Mayor. Again, y'all serve both functions as the City Commission as well as the CRA Board. You've now chosen your chair and your chair pro tem and vice chair pro tem. The next step would be to appoint an executive director for the CRA. Whereas the board sets the policy and the direction of the CRA implementation of the plan, the executive director is the implementing arm of that direction that is set by the board. And so staff recommends that the Director of Planning and Economic Development position be appointed as the CRA Executive Director to the CRA Board.
How much is the bonus for that?
We haven't worked that out yet, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, okay. So we would make the Planning and Economic Development Committee balance both of those, which is, I would say, is how it's mostly done in cities that don't want to go out and hire a whole separate person just to do that.
And I forgot to state it, but at some point in the future, when the CRA is collecting enough revenues annually, it would, at the discretion of the board, you could then choose to hire a full-time executive director devoted solely to the CRA.
Okay, thoughts or questions?
So, the executive director has to be a commissioner?
No. The executive director would be Brian.
Right.
So this is a staff person who's going to administer the CRA, make sure that we keep our end of the bargain, that everything we said to the county we would do, we do. We don't use the money to do anything that we didn't say that we would do, because we can only spend it within those things that you guys said this is what we would spend it in. So your executive director makes sure that you adhere to that contract. I would say in the entire city, Brian's a person who understands that contract better than anyone else. So that makes a good amount of sense. And at this point, I think we're talking about $16,000 or $19,000. So I think he can probably fold that into his daily activities.
I move to approve Brian as our executive director.
Okay, I have a motion on the floor. Do I hear a second? And then we'll go to questions.
Second.
I have a motion from Commissioner Coleman, a second from Commissioner Farnsworth. Commissioner Clark, you have a question?
My only question was, how much is it going to add to you, Brian?
Mr. Mayor, or Mr. Chair, rather, to the chair's point, right now, our budget is so slim, there's not a whole lot to administer. As the years go by and we start collecting more significant revenues, we could look at that. But also, too, just so the commission's aware or the board's aware, when we get our next planner position filled, then that's going to free me up also to do more economic development focus. And the CRA is a big part of that.
And I would say in default, he's been the executive director of piloting us through this process. So, okay, I have a motion, probably second on the floor. Motion made by Coleman, second made by Commissioner Farnsworth. Any other comments or questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Comments, questions on the motion on the floor from the public? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passed unanimously. Now we're on to 4, which is the 22 budgets.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and board members. I have another 18-page script I'd like to go through.
But you want to race. You want to race. See how you talk faster.
Mr. Chair and CRA board, at the last workshop, we did present to you our planned CRA budget. It is, the budget we have before you tonight is almost identical. The only change is we moved $1,500 out of contract services into training. With the new CRA, we'd like to make sure we are able to send our executive director to the CRA conference so he can learn how to legally operate a CRA. Aside from that, there are no changes. We have just shy of $17,000 in revenue from ourselves and the county, and then $17,000 in expenses.
Okay, so if we approve this budget, then that's what we'll spend this first bit of money on, right? So facade grants, cleaning up downtown, that kind of stuff, which I would say is probably the primary thing I've heard you guys wanting to get done with the CRA is let's use it to help fund some of these downtown businesses, clean up. Everybody in town thinks that the city owns all these businesses downtown and wants to know why we're not the ones washing them, painting them. And when you tell them that they're all privately owned and we have to work with the private owners to do those things, you can kind of see the frustration on their face. So this is a way that we can form that partnership. Any questions on this budget for the $16,700?
The only thing I ask is out of this money to replenish the flags crossing Newberry Road because Tim keeps buying them. So use some of that money to get those flags back.
Are they gone again? People keep stealing?
When I was there the other day, they weren't there.
There were no flags.
Who's putting them out?
The I purchased the first set. I mounted them to the poles, but I believe the city actually purchased the existing set that's out there right now. In all disclosure, So I don't get the current credit, just past credit. Yeah, yeah.
Might have been Mr. Griffin over there. Yeah, the second one.
Maybe they pull them in at night or something.
I mean, I've seen them there. Yeah.
They're there.
Yeah. So maybe they just took them away from you.
Short-term memory.
Yeah, I get it. All right.
Mr. Mayor, would you like me to read the resolution?
Please,
This
Mr.
is a
Attorney.
resolution of the Community Redevelopment Agency, CRA, of the City of Newberry, Florida, relating to its budget for the 2021-2022 fiscal year, repealing all resolutions in conflict, providing for severability, approving a final fiscal year 2021-2022 CRA budget, providing an effective date. The appropriate motion is to pass resolution number CRA 2021-01 as read by title only.
Do I have that motion? I have a motion from Commissioner Farnsworth, second from Commissioner Maison. Any comments or questions on the motion on the floor from the dais? Hearing none, does the public have any comments or questions on the motion on the floor? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion passed unanimously. Congratulations, guys. I can't wait to see some pressure washing and some painting going on downtown. It's going to be exciting. And do we need to do comments to Executive Director? Do you have any comments? No, sir. Thank you. CRA Attorney?
No, sir.
Okay. City Clerk, do you have any comments? And CRA Board, did anybody have any final comments?
I'm not on that board.
I have no comments. Does citizens have any comments? Any final comments? Hearing none, we are adjourned.